Dustin, I appreciate it, man. You work a gazillion hours. For you to make time to kind of spend 20, 30 minutes with us is a big deal, and I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope we have a good time just hanging out and kicking it a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Ambrose, share a little bit with Dustins, our audience, and our whole thought process behind creating a podcast like this.
Right. Dustin, I just want to say thanks for, I'm out to spend a day with us again. Really, it's the weekend. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you choose to be with us. So our main goal and motive, right, is to introduce savvy investors to our audience, which is most of them are newbie wholesalers who's looking to get into the game and they don't really know where to start from. So we introduce people who's been doing this for a while to give them a little bit, a knowledge and give them a little bit, you know, motivation, I guess, inspiration to where to
Yeah.
start from,
Yep.
build from. So that's the whole goal. That's the whole goal for this podcast, and we've been doing it for a while now. And thank you again for being on here.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. I forgot to play our theme music. Wow, I queue up the first question. All right, so Dustin, we like to have fun with this. But the one thing that I always tell our audience members is that we are going to bring on our platform not just wholesalers, but anyone that's touching the real estate game, because wholesaling is just a small piece of the overall pie in real estate. And so our goal right now is just to give people an idea of all of the little slices that are now available. So if you could basically share with our group, what catalyst in your childhood or in your formative years kind of brought you to real estate?
Yeah, mine's actually at the most basic level. So I was renting just like everyone else, an apartment, and I lived above a bar at the time, and I was dating my now wife, and living above a bar was not the easiest. I got brought into this bar or this unit being told that the windows were new and it was well insulated. And I moved in right before Syracuse went to the Final Four. And needless to say, my apartment was never quiet from the bar downstairs. You could hear people stomping their feet, getting the snow off before they walked in. And you could hear people telling the next person, I gotta go to the bathroom, I'll be right back. And it was just like the worst living experience. And I was like, I need to figure out a way to buy a home. And my girlfriend at the time, my wife, she was on board with it. And I always had in the back of my head that I wanted to move into a duplex. I figured it'd be a great opportunity to not pay my mortgage. And that's all I thought about it. I never knew that you could create a business from it and gain financial freedom. I was just like, whatever I have to do to have a house and then not have to pay as much would be amazing. I had a few friends that owner occupied their own duplexes. So we probably took about a year and a half and saved up some money. And at the time I had a decent job. I was making good money collecting debt for the U.S. Department of Education. And we learned about FHA loans. So Googling, trying to figure out the first step into buying a home. And usually across the board, people say, find a realtor or find a banker.
Right.
So we found a realtor and we met him at a property that we were interested in. I just did one of those, you go to the bottom of realtor.com and you can just message the realtor. I ended up messaging. That's exactly how we met our realtor. And he was an investor. So he had a lot of insight. He seemed like a really honest guy. And we thought the first property we looked at was awesome, right? You have that first time home buyer jitters and you're like, this is great. There's 2 units. And he's like, no, this place is not a good investment for you guys. Like, let's keep looking. I'd be happy to be on your side. So we did that, and maybe, I don't know, I think it was a half a year later, we found a duplex and closed on it with a FHA loan at 3.5% down.
Love it. 3.5. All right.
Yeah. Yep. And the one thing I wanted to add to that portion before I get is that you see a lot of investors or gurus online that will tell you, you can get in this house, FHA loan, $5,000 down, and you're good to go. You're an investor, you're a landlord.
Mhm.
And, we all know that there are closing costs on top of that. And those closing costs can be just as expensive or more. So, a good rule of thumb that from what I've seen is maybe 5 to 6% of the purchase price is going to be your closing costs. And I want people to know that they shouldn't be discouraged to know that there's additional fees on top of that down payment.
Right.
Because you can easily say, oh, I can get that 3 or 4 grand back from my taxes and we can move into a house. And then Earl says, no, I mean, there's closing costs with that too. Oh, never mind. I'm going to watch TV again. Screw that. That's too hard. And it's not that hard. There's so many ways that you can get around that, just with the mere fact that those closing costs, you could potentially borrow the closing costs from a friend or family member, already telling them that the other half of that house is going to be paying for the mortgage. If you
Correct. Absolutely.
And so that money you're saving, you could be paying that person back the closing costs. And meanwhile, someone's giving you debt pay down and you're adding equity to the house.
What the one thing I like, and I want to just kind of emphasize that a little bit, is the fact that your when you think about the extra money for closing costs, not everybody knows what percentage it might be. I'm glad you kind of gave them just a bit of a ballpark.
That's all it is a ballpark. It's definitely not gospel, but that's roughly what I've seen.
Right. And always, I mean, whether we're talking about real estate or anything, scared money doesn't make money. So if you have to kind of put yourself out there and ask a couple of family members or friends, if they know it's real estate, and I got to emphasize, guys, there's so many money-making opportunities out there, from Bitcoin to foreign exchange. The one thing that most people will agree upon is when you're talking about real estate, everyone gets it because it's real and it's tangible. And I think it's a whole lot easier to get other people on board, especially if you don't have your own money and you need to create some private capital. It's much easier to do this than a lot of other opportunities.
Yeah,
so,
and
appreciate that.
Go ahead. Banker is free too. So you speak to a banker and you tell them, kind of what you're looking for, and they can figure out, without running your credit, roughly what you'd be able to afford. And then they can come up with an approximate loan cost illustration, which is kind of what I have here. So they just give you some bare numbers on roughly what the cash is that you would need to bring to the closing table. And you just circle that whole number and know that that's what you have to save for. The nice thing about the conventional loan packages is that you can get, they'll accept gifts from parents, family members, it doesn't matter who it is, because typically there are seasoning periods where the money that you're using to purchase that home has to be in your bank account for 30 to 60 days.
Okay.
So it's proving itself to be your money, and you didn't just find it on the street, put it in your bank account, and you're ready to buy the house, But in these other circumstances, you can accept gifts. So I was with my girlfriend, and we were serious, so she contributed to this. This was our property that we went in on, so she was able to contribute as a gift towards the funds for closing, and we bought it together.
Home run, love it, man.
Yeah.
Now this gift obviously is a gift that keeps giving now that you guys are married.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Now I saw a picture before I kick it over to Ambrose. I saw a picture of you guys, and you guys were like in some running fatigues. Now, are you guys into marathons and such?
Nope. Nope, it was not me.
Okay.
I'm not a runner. I probably
Okay.
should be. You know, I think I need to get on Ambrose's workout schedule, it sounds like.
Good stuff. All right.
Yeah,
Ambrose.
COVID's been killing us as far as that's concerned. Like
Yeah.
now we have a baby due in June, so I'm trying to be ultra safe and haven't really gone to the gym just for, you know, those health concerns. And it's been pretty gross outside, so it's hard to get out there and go for a run when it burns your lungs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't think I mentioned that Kivo's on a bit of a sabbatical right now because he's expecting a baby.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, congrats to him.
Yep. Absolutely. So he's been outnumbered. I think there's 3 girls in the house. He's the only boy. So he's hoping to even up the numbers.
Yeah, we have a little girl on the way too, so I'm going to be outnumbered.
Yes. Yes. All right,
I'm okay.
Ambrose, you got it, buddy.
So, Dustin, for my question, right? I know you talked about working, working, being a 9 to 5er, staying in a place that was uncomfortable as well. So, how did you gather the education to basically be where you at right now? What type of education did you went through?
Yeah, that's a great question, man, and that's going to lead me into a nice deep dive, so I can start get chatting. So you'd stop me if you need me to, okay? So basically, I had no education. I was a YouTube, Google guy, and if I had a question, I tried to figure it out. So after we moved into the duplex, the upstairs unit was in good shape, so we moved there, and the downstairs unit needed a lot of work. It was a tenant of like 7 or 8 years, and she chain smoked all day long. So it was a major gut. And, you know, I'll bring you back to this. We wanted to purchase the house vacant. We didn't want to deal with tenants that were there. We didn't want to inherit a tenant. We really wanted to start from scratch so we could figure it out. And they agreed to that. Well, at the closing table, they gave us a credit for a security deposit, and they said that the tenant was still there. So first time homeowner, first time landlord. Now I'm freaking out at the closing table. And my attorney, I was referred to from a friend. So I got a good deal on an attorney. And he's like, don't worry, if things fail, I'll help you evict the tenant. And I'm like, that's the last thing I want to hear right now, but I appreciate it. So luckily, the tenant was nice. We told her we were going to just be doing a bunch of renovations, and we asked her, to be out in 30 days. 5 years ago, that was the law. Mm-hmm. And so she moved out, and we did the full renovation and did a bunch of work, got a tenant in, increased the rents from $700 to $850. And that's kind of where things went really south. Tried to play nice guy, landlord wise, and I was just doing a lot of Googling, and then I found Bigger Pockets. And Bigger Pockets was a savior as far as having people that have a heap of knowledge, usually in their professions, whether they're CPAs, attorneys. Obviously, you can't take it to heart because they're in different states sometimes.
Right.
But I was trying to get as much free knowledge as I could and make the right decisions as a landlord. And the tenant that we had, there were 2 brothers. One of them was a nice guy, and the other one was apparently a recovering addict. And they both had 2 jobs. They were doing great. And then it looks like there was a relapse at some point, and he started stealing stuff from his brother in the unit. So then the brother couldn't pay rent. And at this point, I'm not getting rent, and I'm trying to figure out if I should evict them or if I can try to do what I learned at that time, cash for keys, or just try to have a mutual conversation, like, maybe we should go separate ways. And then the brother that was having the issues broke into our apartment upstairs while we were at work. So he stole some jewelry, some cash from me, and it was just very personally violating, you know what I mean? Like you're giving this person a home and then they break in, and we called the police, and the police are just really busy dealing with higher level crimes in the area. So it was kind of put on the back burner. But all the stuff that he was stealing, he was pawning. And when you pawn, you have to show your license.
Right.
So I was able to go to local pawn shops and actually track the belongings that he was stealing from us and his brother. And I was proving that it was him.
Oh
So
my
anyway,
goodness.
yeah, it was crazy, but I felt so violated, and I wanted to figure out where this stuff was. So he ended up, being sentenced to prison for burglary and possession of stolen property and all of that stuff. And then the younger brother was obviously really nice and apologetic. I knew it wasn't his fault, but he just decided, I'm really sorry that you had to deal with all this. He left on his own terms. So then at that point, things changed. I created systems and processes, and I read a bunch of books on managing rental properties, because I knew that at that point, I really wanted to learn myself still, but there needed to be some significant changes security-wise and running it like a business and not a hobby. And
Right.
I thought I was running it like a business, but I wasn't conversing with my tenants like it was a business. I was trying to be that nice guy, and they just treated me like a doormat because of it. So I learned the term firm but fair. So
Right.
you have to set those standards, and you can't cross your own line to try to make exceptions, because usually people will take advantage of it. But everything's on a case-by-case basis, right? Especially in a pandemic. You can't just have your solid line and be like, sorry, you didn't pay rent, eviction starts tomorrow. You need to sit down and talk with people. And a lot of people don't understand that this is a customer service business.
Right.
Now, unlike restaurants where the customer is always right, and the customer is not always right here, but it is customer service. And my wife and I strive really hard to make sure that our tenants are comfortable, happy, and their concerns are addressed immediately. So, we use a Google Voice phone number to talk with them. They can text or our email. We use cozy.co for our management software, so they can put in their management requests on there. The biggest change, and I was trying to think earlier, I couldn't figure out how I found out about FREIA in Rochester, but I ended up going to a meeting, and that was life-changing, literally. I met some people that were really nice. I felt like there was no pressure. I could just sit at that table, and no one's going to call on you like the teacher that doesn't think you have the answer and be like, so what do you think, Dustin? You
Right.
can just sit there and take it all in, and then introduce yourself afterwards. Or if there's a topic that you are familiar with, then you kind of chime in and ask questions. Or, sometimes you can even provide feedback with the little knowledge you think you have, some little excerpt that you read that day, you could provide information to someone that's really valuable.
Right.
So I just kept going to FREIA meetings, and there's lenders there, and everybody loves to point everybody out. So even if you went there with one objective, I have a deal, I'm looking for a lender, and everybody's pointing fingers. He's a lender, she's a lender, and they can make it really easy for you. But there's just a bunch of great people in that group. And that's how I got most of my knowledge. Just a lot of hard research, not being afraid to speak with people and ask questions. There's only such thing as a stupid question if you have to ask it twice. It's kind of what my boss tells me. So, if you ask the same question over and over and you're just not retaining that, then it's a stupid question. But other than that, you are just learning, and you're just trying to soak it all in. And
So I think one of the things that I kind of listen and what I learned, right, is that experience is the best teacher. Through you going to all the hardship with tenants, you were able to learn, the process of being a landlord.
yeah,
If I'm not making mistakes. If you also mentioned that you read some books, what if you have any books in mind, is there any book that you could recommend to anybody that's listening right now?
well, if someone's listening to this podcast with the same aspirations as what I'm doing, as far as being a landlord themselves and managing their own properties, and just getting into the basic form of real estate, like house hacking, like we did. The book on managing rental properties by Brandon Turner with Bigger Pockets.
Okay.
Not only is it a great book, it's easy to read, user-friendly. It actually comes with a digital file with all of his rental documents.
Oh, wow.
And then you can just change them according to your state laws. Some of them don't need to be changed at all. But that was great. So I was able to at least use the structure of those documents and then change them to what works best for us in our processes.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll pass the next question to Earl.
What was the name of the book again? I want to put it in our show notes. Brandon what?
Yeah, Brandon Turner, Turner. And it's the book on managing rental properties.
Okay.
But he and Bigger Pockets have dozens of books in the same category. The book on rental property investing, the book on managing. And I read both of those. I say read, but I do a lot of audiobooks for the driving that I do. And sometimes even when I'm doing HVAC throughout the day, which is my full-time job, I find myself kind of doing mindless work. If we're just busy doing maintenances on stuff, I really don't have to dig in deep mentally to solve a problem. And I listen to my podcasts or audiobooks all day long. And I just try to soak up that knowledge. And if there's something really important, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a great idea. I'll pull out the notepad in my phone and put it in right there.
Right. Nice. So I heard Bigger Pockets is one of the audios that you would have people recommend. What else? What other outlets in addition to Bigger Pockets?
Well, this can go a couple ways. I go on YouTube and I can search just specific questions. You kind of know who's credible and who's not by how they're talking and how many views it has.
Right.
And then sometimes, you'll find out that those people were actually interviewed in large podcasts or TV shows as well. But, I've kind of steered away of doing YouTube searches for questions. It's more so Google and real estate investing forums. And I'm just reading books when I can. I don't have a lot of time to read paperback, which is unfortunate. I'd like to be able to just kick back sometimes and do that. Probably could if I got up a little bit earlier, but have a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, typically Bigger Pockets or Free Up. You meet an investor that loves to be chatty and they're going to direct you to certain authors or motivational speakers that invest, and you can just go down a serious rabbit hole as soon as you find the right information.
Excellent. So guys, let me just unpack that. I mean, there was a lot of, and there's always a lot of information, and I just want to make sure there's basic things that you don't get or you don't miss. Here's the first thing. In terms of education, everyone kind of starts out in the same place, YouTube University. That's like the milk. And as soon as you kind of start maturing, then you start evolving, and then your goal is to transition and find a great podcast. The one thing I love about Bigger Pockets and other podcasts like them is they bring individuals to this forum, and they have a wealth of different experiences, and it's almost like a buffet that you can eat from. And then after you transition from your podcast, you'll be there for a while, then you want to really invest and go audiobooks. Now, I love audiobooks. In fact, I will challenge everybody, if you really want to grow as you journey as an entrepreneur, you should be a minimum of 2 books a month. If you're a Tony Robbins follower, Tony Robbins is telling you should probably be doing 2 books a week.
Yeah, I think I like listening to Tony Robbins. I think his voice is captive, and I haven't read any of his books yet, but if I have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, you can pull up a Tony Robbins motivational video, a 15-minute long one, and you feel like you could jump to the moon after that.
Absolutely.
They're very inspiring. One thing I wanted to touch on is that when I'm doing YouTube searches, it's more so trying to get feedback from the alternative investing strategies that people are doing and not necessarily financial advice. Right. So just trying to learn from other people's mistakes is a big thing I like to do. Real estate it's investing and it can be risky. And I tend to be on the less risky side. I can be more risky when I know I have more capital. I never want to have to owe someone with the ability to not pay it. I don't want that scenario, even though, lenders that I've spoken with and people that are my friends now know that if anything ever happened, that I would get a second and third job to pay them back, but I never want to be in that scenario. So I try to be very tactful in the decisions I make. And sometimes that can come back to bite me because I take too long to make the decision and then someone else comes in and takes the deal, and that's fine. But I'd rather know that I'm comfortable making the right decision than making the wrong decision and owing a lot of money or losing a lot of money.
Absolutely. So Dustin, you open the door. Let's walk through that door. What's your buying criteria, and what strategies have you what strategies are you now using, and contrast that, if you will, when you first got into the real estate game?
So when I first got in the real estate game, it was like I said before, as basic as possible. I'm buying conventionally an investment property, buying it conventionally with 3.5% down for one. And then our second property was a single family. And I bought that with 15% down, which most lenders in this area will do 15% down on a single family investment property. So we ended up snowballing our cash flow from the duplex, saving up some additional funds, and then buying that single family. And that one cash flowed well. So we were able to just continue snowballing. The biggest thing here is that we purchase these properties with no intention of using the money that it's generating. That's that business aspect of it. And that's okay, because some people will move out of their primary residence and rent it out, and then they use that for additional income to pay for kids' daycare or whatever it may be. But we knew that we don't make $1 million a year, so we need something to keep snowballing that money. So those properties were going to be able to work for that themselves. So they're in their own bank account and it just does its own thing and I monitor it. So anyways, I think that right now we're looking to do some flips or some burr properties. The single family, I'd like to tell you a quick story about that single family, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go right ahead.
That really pushed us and propelled us into the scenario that we're in now. So the single family, we had trouble renting it for a while, but then we had it stabilized and we had a good tenant in there. And then December 20th of 2019, she was letting her 10-year-old cook unsupervised and the house went up in flames. And so it was mid-December or late December. So I'm working like a horse in my full-time job. It's like 9:30 at night, I think. And I get a phone call from the tenant saying, "Hey, Dustin, we had a fire. Someone needs to talk to you." And then she hands the phone over to the chief of the Rochester Fire Department. And then he's that point right there, you think about everything that happened as an investor within 5 years. You buy the duplex, you get burglarized and robbed. You come back from that, and then you deal with some bad tenants in certain scenarios, major expenses, and then you're like, all right, we got through that. Let's buy this single family and we're going to start all over. And then the single family burns down. And at that point, most people would just, what's that?
I said, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, most people would probably give up and throw the towel in. And I was kind of emotionally exhausted at that point. And I realized, these are the systems and processes that we put in place. We have good insurance. We require the tenant to have renter's insurance. And there's only so much you can do, right? It's in the hands of the professionals that are insuring this house. And we were able to work with a company called National Fire Adjusters who work on your behalf and they speak with your insurance company. So they come in and they give a professional opinion on the damages that are incurred. And they don't look at it at just face value. They realize that this house is plaster and lath, not drywall. So they're able to give you credit for what it would cost to replace it as the plaster and lath, even though you're going to be doing drywall. So you essentially get more on your reimbursement at the end of the day. Now they do take a cut off of that, but from what I was told by the people that recommended them and what ended up happening, they make so much more money than what your insurance would give you that they pay for themselves.
Right.
And we are able to do the rehab on that house for 2/3 of what they provided to us. And the house was in great shape at that point. And we are going to just refinance it, pull the money out and rent it out and keep trucking along. Well, my realtor put a house for sale, probably 5 houses down from that one. And he listed it for 120 in a neighborhood I didn't think you could get more than 100. And I said, if you sell that house, you call me immediately and we will list this house. And he called me a day or two later. He's like, we have a full asking offer. It's sold. I said, all right, well, come over here and take photos because we're selling this one too. And we cashed out. We did really well. So we basically pulled out after the sale about $60,000 that we were able to use to reinvest. And that was like the big game changer for us. The insurance money is tax-free. So we were able to put that into the home and then just roll it into the sale. So that worked out great for us. And that's kind of how we snowballed to where we are now in our investing strategy. We have a little bit of cash to at least prove that we have skin in the game when we work with lenders. And then we took a chunk of that and put it down in a duplex that we just closed down in January. We did take the risk and we purchased a property during the pandemic. So,
wow. Well, so Dustin, we got about 20 people on our live right now. So here's the crazy thing. So unlike many people that kind of go into a deal thinking, I'm going to flip this property, you kind of backed in. It was like a back door.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't even a thought of an exit strategy, to be honest. Like our exit strategy was to just refinance the house and then whatever money we could get back, because the insurance money is essentially free money. Whatever money we could get back, we will either just save for reserves or use that as a down payment on the next property. And yeah, we ended up selling and, it worked out even more. But, big credit to, Jenny Lee, Scott Spear. They were big advocates in that deal for us. Not financially, but Jenny Lee had great contacts for us for appliances and a couple other things. That's when the pandemic, when we were like 4 months into it, so things were starting to get a little sketchy as far as finding materials.
Right.
So she had a great lead for us. And at that time, she was in the middle of a house flip. So we were able to have things in common and talk about that. So,
yeah,
that was a good stepping stone to get on the next part of a relationship with local investors.
Amazing. Wow. Okay, I could probably take up the majority of the time, but let me share the mic. Ambrose, you got the next question.
Listen, it's crazy because I really believe that everything happened for a reason. Everything in life happened for a reason, and I guess that was one of your reasons to broaden your horizon and really expand your business.
Yep.
So I see that from what I heard and the story that you've been telling is that you work 9 to 5, right? My question here is that it's crazy the fact that you work a 9 to 5 and you still be able to rent a whole business and stuff like that, right? So how's your business schedule like from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed? What are you doing all day, and how are you able to fit your being a landlord in
That's
your
a good
busy
question.
schedule?
That's a good question.
And I think saying 9 to 5 is even taking it lightly. So I'm at my first call by 8 o'clock, and with the company I work for, it's one of the larger ones in Rochester. So, my schedule is 8 to 6 p.m. Monday through Wednesday. and then I work the overnight shift on Thursday. So I've set up my schedule at work where I have basically all day until 5 o'clock on Thursday off, and then I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So I only work 4 days a week, but that they're 10-hour days before that. But they're not always 10-hour days. If I'm stuck on a call or we're really busy, I have to take an additional calls, and it could turn into a 12-hour day. And that's where I realized that I really wanted to balance things as much as I could. So that's why I set up my schedule so I could have my Thursday mornings open, so I can attend free meetings, Zoom meetings, whatever it may be. And it's still before the end of the week, so I can still go to the bank and do stuff that I need to that you typically can on the weekend. But Google Drive is my best friend. I've set up all of our rental documents on Google Drive so that I can access them and fill them out on my phone if I need to. Any single document that's related to the business, I have our Google Drive set up very organized. And I'd be honest, I never used to be the most organized person, but things come in waves. I don't think it really matters how many properties you have. I mean, maybe things are more consistent when you have 20 plus units, but with us having 4 units, it's only when there's a vacancy when things become hectic, because you have 50 leads a day that you're trying to sift through and check credit and background and then set up showings. So that's where I really try to trim the fat off of things to make it run as smoothly as possible. And Google Drive has been a big help there. But usually I can get home from work, and if I have some stuff that I need to do, all of the software that we use is I have mobile access and PC access. So I can come home and go through bank account transactions really quickly with software that I use for our accounting is called stessa.com. And that is great, very user-friendly, and we have our bank accounts linked. So as soon as I go to Home Depot and do a transaction for a toilet, it automatically populates on Stessa, and then I can just click what property it was for, put in the balance, and it's done. So I don't have to come in with the receipts and all that. You can take a picture of your receipt, and it scans it to the transaction. So it's just all about automation and how much it's made it easier for us. And then I'm able to do my full-time job and not pull my hair out. And I just try our best that way. But weekends, like my Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's usually when I'm, doing that stuff, is trying to get up to date, maybe go out and do some driving for dollars, find some properties. While we're doing work on our house, I'm just listening to podcasts and learning new things. So constantly trying to adapt.
Appreciate it.
So Dustin, I just put that into the program notes. The software, accounting software was it Stessa.com?
Yeah, STESSA.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, everything you just said with the automation and having a system would definitely kind of make your business easier to navigate. And, with your busy schedule, I'm assuming, you got it down packed. I'm going to pass the next question to Earl. I have one more question, but that's going to be later on.
Yeah, one thing I just want to add to that, Ambrose, is not only is it helpful for you as the business owner, but the professionals that you work with really appreciate it too. So the last closing that we had, it's the first purchase I worked with my new attorney on, and it was like 2 days before closing. And they've done this a million times, but they still need 5 documents right before closing. And she emailed me, and I got back to her probably 10 seconds later because I was able to snag the documents that she needed from our LLC and forward it right to her. And, she shows her appreciation by saying, wow, thanks for getting back to me so quickly. And I know that just really helps them, and it's the little things that count. So, it's not just you that you're helping, it's the other people around you.
Definitely. And that kind of builds confidence in people as well, knowing that they can trust you whenever, they need some type of work.
Yep.
So that's definitely a good thing. Earl?
Yeah. This was a question that just seems very natural to kind of talk about. So with respect to folks who are really kind of looking at this from the standpoint, I want to get my first buy and hold, and I need to do it within this 2021 calendar year because that's a personal goal. Give them a couple things that you would recommend they think about when it comes to buying the property, and then making sure they have the right individuals in the property, and maybe some of the tools that you now use to make life easier that you didn't use earlier.
Yeah, so I guess obtaining a buy and hold now, I would definitely make sure that you're not overpaying. That's what a lot of people are doing these days, more so for personal residences. So don't overpay. I would say become friends with a property manager, even if you want to do it on your own. I think that now in New York State, more than ever, you want a second pair of eyes on what you're doing to make sure that you're not making any mistakes, breaking laws accidentally, and that you're not going to lose your butt and lose a lot of money because of decisions that you make accidentally. I use Google Forms to set up a pre-screening questionnaire. So when I get an email from a lead, a lot of people, they don't read the whole listing, which we put our qualifications in there, just brief qualifications, and then they send you that information. So this is like a secondary source to just weed out people that would not meet certain qualifications for the unit. And it automatically populates in a Google form, and then I can just look at it and see who met that pre-screening. But even then, people are still going to possibly lie on the pre-screening, and then you meet them at the house, and then they fill out an application, and then they don't meet the qualifications. So there's a lot of time wasted there, not only for you, but for them. So speaking with a few property managers and going to meetings, a lot of people now are skipping that whole process and doing full application, credit and background screening before they even consider showing you the house. And just make sure that you have really nice photos and a very clear walkthrough of the home. And that really takes all the questions out of having to go see the property. And if you have a nice walkthrough, so that's what we've been doing, and it's worked out. I have a GoPro Hero 9 that I use for multiple things, having fun. And you saw the videos I sent you with the firehouse walkthrough. And
yeah.
So we use that to shoot our walkthrough videos. And I also use that to analyze deals, which has become really helpful. I will go and look at an off-market deal. Most of the time the electricity is off and stuff. So I have a light, I go through with my GoPro, and I literally talk to the camera and say all of the things that I would do to update the house. And if I have a second person with me, I'll have them take rough measurements of the room so we can come up with a price for square footage to do flooring and all of that. And then I can rewatch that video at home, and I can write down all of the details and do a good rehab estimate within a couple hours. And that makes it really solid. But I think it's just so much different now. Like 5 years ago, Earl, I would have said, just use this, that, and that. And just make sure that you're obviously being fair to these people, and don't be scared to double down on your questions because you don't want your time wasted. But with so many changing laws now, I would definitely recommend having an attorney on email or text standby, or a property manager to talk to. And even if you're like really nervous about it, there are property managers out there that do a la carte services. So they will do tenant placement, and then you can take care of the management portion. So there's options for that too.
Loved it. So a couple things I pulled out of that, Dustin, was a great relationship with a property manager is going to give you a second set of eyes. Very important. Doing a full credit check, as well as a full application right up front, is going to create a filter so you can so you don't actually have to spend any time with folks that are not meeting that requirement. And it sounds like you guys are just taking some excellent photos. So the whole walkthrough process can actually become a little bit obsolete.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes people are just going to have to see it, and that's fine. You prove that you're serious by completing the full application, and then I'll show you that I'm serious by showing the unit. But I was using a calendar app that allows you to set up an appointment, and you can link the person that's going to view the house and yourself. They get an alert like 10 or 30 minutes before, and you can click their phone number and send a text message, just making sure you got this, please respond. And then people will still respond, yep, I'll see you then, and they'll still stand you up. And you try to make a full day of showing. So 15-minute time blocks for 3 hours. And I find myself in the middle of the summer, dressed in my khakis and polo, trying to make an impression. And I'm sweating my face off in a vacant apartment because no one showed up.
Right.
That's when you kind of look at yourself and you're like, we got to change this. Like, this isn't worth it. And, but you feel bad for the people that do come, and you just got to figure out the best way to do it so you're not wasting your time, because the longer you invest yourself in real estate investing, there's a value on the time that you're spending on everything. Now, because of my job and my profession, I like fixing things. I like doing things. So I don't know, in some eyes, wasted a lot of time learning how to do certain skills: carpentry, flooring, drywall, all that stuff. It's sad to say, but I've gotten pretty good at drywall, and I used to hate it so much, and now for some reason it's like soothing to do it sometimes. But learning all that stuff, I was able to save a lot of money. And the end game is that when you start to move out of that and kind of delegate certain tasks of your business, you know how much that stuff costs now.
Right.
Over time, you know how much it costs for you to do it, and now you know how much it costs for someone else to do it for you. So when you start getting bids from contractors, you know if they're trying to wheel and deal you or if it's fair, and then you can build trust with contractors from there.
Absolutely. And I like that you said that, Dustin, because, if I could just kind of speak to my audience that still is wholesaling as the bread and butter of what they do in real estate, the connection is this: don't go hire a cold caller if you don't know how to cold call yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, because then there's no way you can manage that. So you have to actually at least have a sense on what that skill is before you can source it out, so that you can properly manage that outsourced activity.
Yeah, and like you said, just a sense of what's going on. You don't have to be a professional at it, because then you're just wasting a lot of time. There's a lot of people that are like, well, I just invest in real estate, and I'd like to have some diversification of my investments and have different income streams, but I don't know about stocks, and I don't know about this. And I tried going down the YouTube rabbit hole and doing some research on stocks, and I wanted to pull my hair out. And then I had a investor friend reach out to me, and he referred somebody that is a financial advisor, and we had a great conversation. And now I have a connection here. He's able to explain those very difficult terms to me in baby terms, and I trust him. And then that's another avenue that we could take for diversification if we decide to go that route.
Nice. All right, let me kick it over to Ambrose for the last question.
I had to unmute myself. Dustin, I seen your Instagram handle on the page. Is there any other way, if anybody want to get in contact with you, through Facebook, Twitter?
Yeah, Facebook at Dustin Figenscher, or just my Instagram. I don't have a Twitter handle. And for real estate wise, it's almost a little late now for us to start a secondary Instagram handle for real estate. It's weird. I only post like every once in a while, like little projects that we're getting into. It's not a full-fledged DIY Instagram account, but I've had so many investors all across the country request to follow me. And I think that it just happens like organically if you're commenting on their stuff or bigger pocket stuff and like, oh, you know, this guy mentioned, you know, his flip or whatever, and then they follow you. So organically we've, you know, have some followers and we follow them back, obviously. And you learn so much from other people that are doing the same thing, no matter what state they're in or what country they're in. So but we're probably just going to continue to use my personal handle and then maybe start sprinkling a little bit more real estate related stuff there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's my last question for the day. Thank you again.
Yeah, no problem. Good talking to you guys.
All right, man. So we really quickly want to tell you this, Dustin. I didn't put this out there, man, but one of the things I like to do is bring our guests back in about 6 months so we can hold you accountable for your 2021 goals. So what are your goals for the new year?
My goals are for you guys to send me some deals.
Oh, okay. I love that goal.
Right?
All right.
You've been doing a lot of work in Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think that we'd like to have probably a flip or two this year and add 2 to 4 units to our buy and hold portfolio. I think that's a modest and achievable goal for us this year.
Yeah. Oh, we can't hear you. You're thinking some. Gotta pause that music a little bit.
I'm sorry, say that again, man.
No, I was trying to tell Earl we can't really hear him. There it is.
You want me to repeat what I said as far as my goals?
Right. I definitely understood your goal. Earl was saying something, but we can't really hear him. Can you hear him, or maybe it's me?
I couldn't hear him. Can you? Hello?
Yeah, I can't hear him neither. So I'm gonna close out. There it is.
Yeah, I think
Earl,
he's muted.
unmute your laptop.
How you doing, buddies? Am I
There
on
it
mute
is.
now?
Yeah.
I muted myself. Sorry about that. But thank you, Ambrose, for letting me know.
Yeah.
Because I was just running. So Dustin, 2 things. Expect deals from Real Relief. Thirdly, so you're thinking about another fix this year and putting on 2 more units.
Yeah, we'd like to do 2 to 4 units and maybe 1 to 2 flips. You know, I think that our biggest bottleneck right now is lead generating.
Okay.
So I've met a lot of investors, very successful investors and wholesalers that told me that, you know, you shouldn't waste a lot of your time on that. If you're just going to strictly invest, you should be letting other people bring deals to you. But that doesn't always happen the way you want it to. So it's okay to go out and get it yourself. You know, just like you and I spoke before this started, Earl, you need to find a way to generate leads that don't cost $30,000 a year, you know?
You got it. Well, we know your buy box, so we will be in touch, my friend.
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir. All right, man. All right. Send us out, Ambrose.
Hey, Dustin, thank you again. I know I said this many times, but I really do appreciate you taking the time out to have a conversation with us today. And the audience, anybody that's listening right now, I really want to tell you guys thank you. Without you guys, we wouldn't be doing this. But so this is our 27th episode, I think. Was it 27th? How many episodes, Earl?
Yeah.
Man, that's good. That's a good thing. So this is Wholesaling. Thank you guys for being on the show today. And please come back next time. When is our next one? I think it's Monday, right? Our next episode?
Yeah, we have a gentleman from Atlanta who actually has developed a software app for measuring KPIs for those who are marketing for deals. So kind of going back to what you're saying, Dustin, you know, 30 grand a month, you really want to know what it's working and what's not.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
That's when you want to have close ties to your numbers at that point.
Absolutely. All right,
Yeah,
guys.
give people my
Yeah.
well wishes, okay?
Yeah, you can say-
Yeah.
Yeah.
God bless everyone.
See you guys. Thank you again.
Dustin, have a good one.
All right.
You
Bye-bye.
too, man.